Nothing like just two women in their 30s talking about their teen years and witch movies with no context for the most part and no through line. We just talk at each other.
Can we make that like the commercial for our podcast?
You betcha.
Welcome to the Coven Slumber Party with Ray of Blackheart Arts and Sarah of Calling Corners, where we break down and geek out over the witchy, magical, mystical media of the 80s, 90s, and more, and try and fill the video store-shaped holes in our hearts. Welcome to episode 11 of the Coven Slumber Party podcast. I'm Sarah of Calling Corners.
Oh, and I'm Ray of Blackheart Arts.
And this is a very special episode of the CSP podcast because we've officially turned 1 year old. If you are listening to this, thank you for coming to our birthday sleepover. If you've been part of the Coven over the last year, we are endlessly grateful for you, your magic, your attention, and your energy. Thank you to everyone who has come up to either of us and told us online how much you've loved the podcast so far. When we fill each other in on stories of the Coven members doing just that, we always end up with happy tears. If it's your first slumber party, welcome to the Coven, and thanks for coming to our birthday. Now shotgun that Dr. Pepper. You know we have more where that came from. Grab some pizza from J&L's if you're local, and help yourself to the cake. You know we wouldn't forget that, right? It's our party, and we'll cry if we want to, and we usually do. Okay, so I wanted to ask you what it has been like for you doing the podcast together for 1 year, and your thoughts going into the pod when we first started it.
Oh, thoughts going in? Terror. So much terror. I hate myself. Sorry. Oh,
great answer.
So sad. So fucking sad. But there's like a Trixie Mattel quote that like I made a candle of.
Yeah.
It's like, I love myself, but I hate the way I am. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. So it's like everything I say for the most part, I always like hated everything I said, how I said it. I hated my voice. It was just like there's so many things that I was like, this is going to be really shitty and hard. But through the process, it's actually made me like not give a f*** and just
awesome.
be like, yeah, I'm just going to chill out and talk about stuff and like, whatever, I don't care. We've talked about this before in other podcasts and stuff, like the pressures of being like a female into movies or like into horror or whatever, you know. It's like you always feel like you're being scrutinized way harder. It's like if you wear a band t-shirt, everyone is like, you don't even know that band.
Yeah.
You know? So I was fighting with that a lot, but no, now I'm just like, this is cool. We just hang out and talk about stuff and we giggle and it's nice.
It is nice. It is nice.
It's nice.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty evident to anyone listening that this is a pandemic podcast. We started in the pandemic.
Oh, yes.
Which has been awesome. I think it's been definitely like a safe haven, or I don't know what you would call it, but like a point of
only social engagement.
My point of sanity, like a touchstone. Yeah, for sure.
The only thing I have going. No.
Basically, sometimes.
Yeah.
I get so hyper-focused on work that it usually is a detriment to, like, my social life and friendships. So this actually seemed like the ideal solution to Dr. Frankenstein the two. So we can talk about our work and have friend time. Yeah,
it's genius, actually.
Yeah, work and play,
Bravo.
Right? Yeah, it worked out well for us, I think. Yeah, so it was the first wave of the pandemic, and I really just missed you terribly.
You're so nice. Such a good human.
And it's just like thinking about all the movies and stuff, it just seemed like the perfect time, like, for us to like reconnect and record it online for the view or the listening pleasure of others.
Yeah, but it's great because it's pandemic time, so I don't go anywhere for the most part, so I don't have to like to go back to like the weird thing of like me being like worried and stuff. I didn't have to like worry that someone listened to it and was judging me or saw me, and it's like, and now I've done enough of them that like if I go out in the world and someone is like, hey, your podcast is weird, I'll be like, oh, whatever, you listened, haha, like I'll be fine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like last year I probably would have been like, shrivel into a ball and like slink away. But...
Right. Yeah, it's definitely helped for sure. So I know we've joked about this being like our way of becoming Christians later and pump up the volume, but it's actually not a joke because it's true for me. It gives me so many good feelings. Like,
Oh my God, I love it.
and also I think I get more, like, you kind of touching on what you just said, I have a little bit more confidence, I think, than I had before, just in like saying words and having thoughts.
Yeah, and it's like it's not anything groundbreaking. It's just, I think, like just flexing a muscle for me that I never allowed myself to do before.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's okay if you don't articulate your thought 100% that one time.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know, like you don't have to beat yourself up and try to like aim for perfection constantly. So it's been really cool. It's not, yeah. And then see how that trailed away into nothingness? I'm comfortable with that now.
Exactly, right? Exactly. All right. Yeah. I actually wrote, I was like, if this was the movie Hook and I needed to fly,
Ooh.
this podcast would be my happy thought.
Oh my God.
This is really cheesy and I'm sorry in advance.
Okay.
A huge element of doing this podcast over the last year was I get to do it with you. I'm not saying that I'm going to stand outside your window with a boombox and play In Your Eyes in a trench coat, but you're honestly one of my favorite people on the planet. You have said things off the cuff over the last few years that were so powerful to me and became life lessons that made me a better person. You are one of the strongest, sweetest, funniest, most authentic people I have the pleasure of knowing. And the fact that I get to call you my friend and that you care about me and know me like know me is something I consider an absolute blessing. I wish everyone could be so lucky to have a Rachel for the podcast in their life. Maybe I should have just went with the boombox.
No, crying is fine. That was so nice.
Well, it's true.
You're so nice.
Well, I love you, and you should know.
I love you too, you beautiful beast. God damn it. That was very sweet. And like, same. I'm so like, I feel like so lucky to have you in my orbit. It's such a bonkers, like, looking back at the trajectory of our relationship, it's like I'm so lucky that we were able to like keep meeting and going. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Oh man. Okay, so next point. Deciding what to cover for our birthday episode was a very quick decision because if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know there's one movie, nay, sacred text, that we reference in every episode.
Pretty much. It's as beloved as Stephen King.
It's as beloved as Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's a movie that fueled us with a palpable energy that got us through our teen years,
Mm-hmm.
definitely through high school.
Mm-hmm.
A precious, delicious piece of Canadiana. The unique and beautiful teen werewolf horror 2000s ginger snaps.
It's just so good. Rewatching it, it just like it hit the same way and everything, but also like looking through 2021 lens, I was like, this movie would never be made now.
No.
At all, in any way, shape, or form. Like, no bits of it, no nothing. The characters non-existent. Like,
Yeah.
We've talked about the specialness of like other things before in the past. This really does seem like a very specific 2000s world.
Yeah.
The two main characters are like obsessed with death and want to commit suicide by the time they're 16.
Yeah.
That's like, for some reason it just like it fit and it made so much sense and it was just like so real, palpable, and like understandable when we were in high school.
Yeah, very relatable.
But now, like, no. Teen movies now, it's not cool to like not care.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, like, if you cared about the environment or if you were like really into chess or like you had ambition, everyone was like, ugh, you loser. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna make something of myself and be like, okay, enjoy being a square.
So I just said something about how you and I got through like our teen years with this movie, but let's elaborate. What did this movie mean to you growing up?
Oh, there was I think my mom thought like there was something wrong with me for a period of time.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna just check the date of this other movie, but I watched this and Virgin Suicides a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that came out in 1999. So I do remember at one point she asked me straight out. She was like, "Do I need to be worried about you?"
Wow. Well, at
And
least
I was
she,
like,
yeah.
no. But it's like, there's just something about ginger snaps that just kind of made you feel more comfortable. I don't know. It made me feel comfortable in my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know that like sometimes I would look around and feel like I was like completely out to lunch when it came to my reactions to things compared to other people, or that like I felt things too heavy or too much, or I don't know, like it's just like I was a very emotional person, and then this movie and characters like this in this movie like made me feel like I was not as fucked up as I thought I was to a
Yeah.
degree, where I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah, there are other people in the world that feel this deeply, and that like can be, because they feel so deeply, they just kind of like shut off. You
Yeah.
just are like, I'm done. I'm just hanging up on the day.
I mean, I can't really speak for what it's like to be a teen nowadays. I'm sure it's can
Mm,
be a horror show in its own right, like an entirely
yeah.
different beast. But
Mm-hmm.
back when we were going through that stage around like 2000, it was like, this movie kind of was like a connection to, like, you could be okay with your darkness a little
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time that I really think I saw an emotional representation of myself too,
Yeah.
for
Like
sure.
it really rang true for me, like how they reacted and how they moved through their world. Like I was like, yes, this is something that I can understand.
Mhm.
But also like just the whole menstruation metaphor and everything of like what it was like to be, what it is to be a woman and the female and all of that stuff. It was nice to have it broken down in a way, again, like it made more sense to me. It wasn't
Mhm.
like fluffy frou-frou lacy cute flower, like menstruation is a gift and beautiful and lovely. It was like, no, this shit is like kind of crazy sometimes, and like being a woman is powerful and can be scary and like intense, and like get ready.
Yeah, totally. I did like too that it wasn't like so overly like figurative or like abstract, I guess, in the way that it
Hmm.
represented it. Like not too it wasn't too academic.
Yeah.
It was the idea, this trope or this concept that we'd actually talked about in Jennifer's Body of like, yeah,
Hmm.
like you're saying, women, when girls become women, they become the other, they become monster,
Yeah.
all connected to blood and menstruation generally.
Yeah.
But it, because they were such good teenagers and it was written in a way that was very they were believable teens, like the things
Hmm.
they said were believable, the things that they,
Hmm.
yeah, it was like it was a way to get that point across, but that made sense to us, I guess, that spoke our language.
And that's the thing, like rewatching it, I was like, I don't think that this would work the same way for like someone in grade 10 watching it for the first time now.
Right.
I was like, I don't think it would work,
Mm-hmm.
because I think tonally, it's not as accepted to have your darkness and like depressive thoughts and the negativity to be your hallmark nowadays. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's something to overcome.
Yeah, it's like this is a task that's put in front of you. You need to get to the point where at the bare minimum you're not visibly showing it to other people.
Yeah, or
You
like
know?
I think you said like using it as your hallmark. That's a perfect description of it because it's almost like it feels like there's almost a shame 20 years later of
Hmm.
taking pride in the fact, like, if your differences are too different or too dark or whatever, right?
But that's another thing, like the differences, like you brought up. Okay, so I think even Ginger has like a line, like when she actually gets her period, she's like, I try to be as different as I can in my body, like,
Screws you over, yeah.
yeah.
One of the things about ginger snaps, like kind of in the same vein that like I found refreshing, which I don't know, I don't feel like that's controversial. I think it is like resonant with a lot of people in our age range, is that stuff like depression and stuff that kind of wasn't stated maybe out loud in the movie, like stuff like depression or stuff like suicide and like darker thoughts and that, like kind of the struggles that the main characters go through. There seems to be like a level of shame involved in people that are willing to speak about that having not come out the other side yet. Like I've noticed that when people share their stories about like their mental health and stuff, it seems to only be, in my experience, the only people that are really talking about it are like events I've gone to where people speak about it. It's only people that are like, and then I'm better because I did this, close the book. Like, they don't want to hear from somebody who is in the midst of it and hasn't came out of the hole yet. And I always felt like that was like unfair, because in some cases, like it doesn't always, it's not always beneficial to hear how, like, oh, you're doing great now, but I'm still stuck. And it's,
because it's never a one solution fits all thing. And that's what I always find really frustrating about a lot of these like savior sort of people, you know, like they're in everything from like self-help to like even like small business. Like they're always like, I'll tell you how to do it. It might have worked for you in your business, and it might have worked for you and what you were going through at that time, but that is not to say it's going to work for anyone else on this goddamn planet, let alone like an arena full of people or, you know, like a class. It's just not, it puts a lot of extra pressure on people, I think.
Absolutely. And I'm always suspect of somebody who's like, this is the way you do a thing, the end.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, your world must be so neat and tidy, but also like chaos, and you just don't know.
Just so rigid. Okay. That rigidity is going to snap sometime, and I don't want to be around for that.
Exactly. One thing I really appreciated about Ginger Snaps that was different is that these characters like Ginger and Bee kind of have like a strength that I wasn't familiar with. For the like female characters, let alone like female lead characters and stuff like that.
They were very unique.
Yeah, to go to Virgin Suicides, like they were more like, well, that's Sofia Coppola's pastel palette of life anyway, of just like everything's soft, mysterious, and like, you know, sparkly. But these girls were like serious, and they knew their direction, they knew their lane, and they were happy, and they were in charge of themselves for the most part.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like Ginger and Bridget are, like you said, it's just like they were very unique girls. Actually, I there was a article that I was reading, and it said I'm probably misquoting it, but they were like, they're not your usual final girls, and it's so true. Like they lean into their darkness, and I do think that there's a power to be gained from leaning into your darkness that gets ignored a lot nowadays.
But yeah, no, I liked that as things went sour in the movie, like Bridget still kept to her core as a person. You know, it's like she did lean towards the dark with Ginger, but not 100%. Like she stayed true to herself towards the end, which I really appreciated. Like she was like, hey, you have to stop killing people, you asshole. Kind of thing, you know, where it was like, cool. That's nice. Way to go, Bridget.
Well, we even, like, I think that's really important that you brought that up, because the thing is, you even have that scene at the beginning where Ginger's talking about, like, how they're going to commit suicide, and they say that thing, it's like out by 16 or dead on the scene, but together forever, I think. And
that is.
And she reaches out her hand, and Bridget hesitates,
yes, and she's like, come on. And there's a lot of pressure that is put on her from Ginger through the entire movie, basically.
And it's that misery loves company thing, right?
Yeah. I just like slumming it in their unfinished, creepy basement.
I love it, though.
The beautiful suburbs. But I was like, like watching it again, I was like, yeah, that's so exactly what we all wanted to do in like 2000.
Totally.
Just leave me alone.
I'm going to pierce my belly button in my room.
I did. I pierced my face.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Good times. DIY piercings,
with random shit that I found.
Fun fact, when I stretched my ears out, before, like, it was like when the jewelry for ear stretching was just coming into like retail, like it was harder to find. I started stretching it with nails, and oh my god, like used nails from like a toolbox, and my ears were so
Yep, that sounds That sounds like a thing that, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, what dirty pieces of shit we were. I love it. I love it.
The other thing too that really resonated with me with Ginger Snaps was their power, like, of it. Like, the girls had such a power to them. Like I know we've talked before, it's like slow motion walking when she walks down with slow motion. It's just like, it's such a good feeling. And like, like when you're having a good day and you're feeling yourself, it's like, that's how you feel like you're walking and moving, and that's how everyone's acting at you.
And that's the thing. I want to know if like younger kids now, the young kids nowadays have that feeling about slow motion walking, or if it's something else, because I feel like it's definitely a 90s thing.
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of like, probably in 2007, we're like, we should this feels like real weird. We should probably stop making everybody walk in slow motion. Do you want to try it? And they were like, oh, wow, yeah, that works way better. Let's make them stop walking in slow motion everywhere. I don't know. All I have in my head right now is the end of Cruel Intentions. I think it's kind of in slow motion, isn't it? No,
yeah,
she's
I
just
think
on
it
the highway. I don't know.
It's in slow motion. Yeah, it's in slow motion when Sarah Michelle Gellar walks out and sees everyone. Yeah, reading
and her little cross opens.
Yeah. It was slow motion.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Now I'm just like in my head being like, let's look at all of the awesome, sweet slow motion things from our past.
But it was like this. Yeah, it was definitely something that was used to like indicate like a powerful moment or someone cool. Yeah. And we're the losers that got stuck with continuing to think that it was cool.
Yeah, I still legit in my my head. Because
Same.
like pandemic time, I'm alone by myself all the time listening to music, and if I'm feeling it, yeah, I have a slow motion moment. You betcha.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I do stuff like that too. Like I'll be like nerding out, maybe not with slow motion moments, but like, yeah, I distinctly remember like you do cheesier stuff, right? So when I was reading, I think it was Wolves of the Calla. It was one of the Dark Tower series books from Stephen King. And
feature number 1.
And there's a chapter and it's called like Back in the New York Groove or something, and it's like,
cool.
Yeah,
that's a good song. Anyway,
that's what happened. I read the chapter and like the punk guy, like the punk, I picture him as punk, but like, I think he was punk in the book. And he's like, he gets back to New York from like Midworld, like a version of New York that he recognizes. And I read it and then I was like, I gotta read this again while listening to Kiss Back in the New York Groove.
It's such a good song.
And so I'm just like rocking out, just like envisioning what it's like. And there was probably slow motion in my vision, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Come on. To that song from Stephen King? Yeah, there's slow motion.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah. And it's just him back in New York. Just so, yeah. It was power. But yeah.
Oh, also, I really I like this now. I started watching Stephen King's new show, Lissy's Story.
Oh, Lissy's Story. I saw I saw some articles about it, but I haven't checked it out yet. Yeah.
I watched Justin put the first episode on and he was like, I don't know, whatever. And it was kind of a little bit of a mental mind because it's like setting up the different worlds and the steps and the dreams and the everything.
Yeah.
But there's like a clue in it, and it was a song lyric, and I read it and I was like, that's a song lyric. What? And then when it was revealed later, it was like, yeah, this song was playing during this event or whatever. I was like, oh, that's so cute. And I always forget that Stephen King like really loves to put a lot of music references in his stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I really appreciate that.
I do too a lot. Ginger Snaps was like, I don't know, I can't really articulate exactly how much it did for me, but I definitely feel like it made me the woman I am in many ways.
It made me feel comfortable with the bitchiness that I sometimes had in high school.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Probably me too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like some days, but like, of course, like the next day or like the next hour, let's be honest, I was like, oh, I can't believe I did that. You know, like a little asshole.
When the slow motion vibe wears off, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, and you're just like in calculus and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm a dick. Wow, cool.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Or you catch a look at yourself in the mirror or something, or it's like my pants were always like, The one thing that always killed my vibe was if my pants were too short and you could see my socks. Do you know that like
that's
break,
a look now though, I feel like.
I know, it's people want that, but like when I was like in grade 10, 11, it's like that would ruin my f***ing day. Like I would just be like a shattered shell of a human, just like don't look at me.
Or like you just try and stand up the whole time, or like tuck your feet in.
Something like just like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just roll them up to capris. That's cool, right? No.
Oh shit.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's so funny. I hear you on that look. It was terrible, but now it's cool.
Everything is cool now. You can go to school looking like a piece of shit or like the richest person on the planet, and everyone's like, dope style.
Yeah. True.
No, not in 2000.
No.
Very strict rules.
But you could wear the jeans under your skirt, as you were saying.
Yeah, with like a tiny little handbag.
Yeah.
Bedazzled.
So why don't you tell us what this movie's about?
Okay, I read somewhere that it was two death-obsessed sisters, outcasts in their suburban neighborhood, must deal with the tragic consequences when one of them is bitten by a deadly werewolf. That's accurate.
Very accurate, yeah.
It's on Prime Video, by the way, if people want to watch it.
Yeah, that's how I watched it.
Yeah.
Prime.
That's what
right.
Prime Video had to say about it.
Okay, cool.
So I said, you know what, Ginger Snap's Prime Video version? That's pretty accurate.
It is.
But it said that it came out in 2001.
That's incorrect.
Yeah, so that was weird.
So it was directed by John Fawcett, written by Karen Walton and John Fawcett, who I guess were living together at the time, and he was wanting to make a transformation.
Mm-hmm. Metamorphosis movie.
Yeah.
Animorphs.
Did you just say Animorphs?
Yeah.
He wanted to make Animorphs? He read the series and was just so...
That's so dope. Look at that cover. He turns into a hawk.
When you open the book...
I have not read a single Animorphs, but like those covers are gonna stay with me forever. Especially the ones where they turn into shit creatures. And you're like, oh, I'm an iguana. You're just like, oh.
Or like a dolphin.
Sucks. Yeah, you're just like, that's a bummer for you, right? Like,
it's just weird that there's ever a situation where a teen would have to turn into an animal to
do anything. Like, what?
Oh shit.
Now I want to look at Animorphs covers.
I'm gonna look it up too.
And like, because I know so like this. Like that's where she turns into a rat. Like, what?
Oh shit. Oh man.
Why? What? No.
This one turns into a poodle. That's.
Oh my god.
Oh, one guy turns into a snake.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, an ant, though?
Like, why?
Just gets so many arms.
The rat one might be my favorite, honestly.
I love that. It's like, oh, it was so good. But then you get some cool ones, like, yeah, this girl's a bear.
One of them is a rhino.
Even that's cool. A rhino?
In what world?
A fucking anteater? A f***ing anteater.
Like, what is the plot where you have to turn into an anteater to achieve your goal? Like, what possibly could be going on?
Okay, so can they go into different, like, again, I didn't read this was a f***ing starfish. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh my god. Oh shit. This is the best one. You found the best one.
Oh my god, I love it so much. Okay, so this is the thing. Like, again, I've never read it. So is it like there's only a handful of these animal humans that can do anything? Or is it just like...
I do know that an alien gave a bunch of them, like, the power to do it, but I have no idea why.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, there are some that are like aliens.
Yeah. Okay. So it says of the starfish one, Rachel, one of Earth's teenagers. Wow.
What? Okay, continue.
Oh shit. Rachel,
That's
one of
crazy.
Earth's teenagers, dedicated to stopping the parasitic alien race known as Yeerks, is horrified when she finds herself split into two nearly identical girls. That doesn't explain the starfish.
No. What? Her head gets so pointy. So good.
Oh, so listen to this Amazon review. My old friend, the split personality into extremes plot.
Excellent. Yes. And then sprinkle some starfish on top of it.
Okay, somebody actually said what it was about. Okay, they say, the separation, Animorphs number 32, could be called the best Rachel book.
Okay.
They gave it 5 out of 5. Well, at least that's what I call it. Rachel, after morphing into a starfish, is split into two Rachels, and the only problem with that is that one Rachel is an all-out cowardly wimp, and the other Rachel is a reckless or beast, I'll call her. This gives the Animorphs even more problems to deal with on top of finding the Yeerks' so-called new technology, the anti-morph ray. A must read.
A must read. A must read. I love it.
They reviewed it March 10th, 2002.
Yes! Okay.
So from that review also, it makes it sound like her animorphing into a starfish was like the cause of the issue to begin with.
Really bad idea. That's why I was like, they're not protected at all? They don't have any alien power when they're a starfish? They just turn into a shitty starfish and they can get cut in fucking half? Why would you want to be an animorph? What? I'm so confused. And that's the power she's supposed to use to stop these aliens from using their ray? I'm gonna get small and useless in front of you. What? I love it.
Oh my gosh.
I think part of me wants to get the Animorph books now.
We should order that one at least. It's a must read after all.
It's a must read. It's a must read. War and Peace. Whatever that starfish book was called.
Animorphs issue 32.
Oh,
War and
God.
Peace and Animorphs issue 32.
And just put them right beside each other on the shelf. Like, they're just so both important. Oh my God. Cool. Okay. We're talking about ginger snaps.
Back to ginger snaps. But yeah, so we digressed. But John Fawcett's plan was to make a Metamorphosis book. We can only hope and pray that he read Animorphs number 32.
Well, that was the inspiration, I'm sure. He was like, man, wow. Moving.
He takes the book in the room, to the bedroom, to Karen Walton, and he's like, this!
It's must read. Must read. Now.
He's the one that reviewed it. Let's talk about the cast.
I love the mom.
The mom is amazing.
I was trying to remember without like looking at her IMDb of like how I could have recognized her because she has such a face. I'm like, yes, I know this actress.
Yeah, Mimi Rogers, right?
Yeah, but I had to go on IMDb, and I think it's just from the X-Files that like I recognize her so much.
Oh, interesting. Who was she in X-Files? I don't really remember her.
Yeah, Agent Diana Fowley.
Oh, okay. I can't remember her, but
she's like in a handful of episodes.
Then we have, so Mimi Rogers plays the mom, Pamela, as you just said. Jesse Moss plays Jason, the shitty love interest.
Yeah, and it bummed me out to see that face because I was like, yeah, there was like heartthrobs for girls in like 2000s were not cute. Like boys were not cute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, well, yeah. I mean, he. No offense, Jesse Moss, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Like
you could have. It's a bit generic.
It just was maybe also time has passed and like.
But
I don't know.
Let me just counter that. Let me play the devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Because we have Chris Lemke playing Sam, the drug dealer, who is a god.
He is studly.
He's so studly. He's so
cool.
And
that's true.
And I know I told you this before, but I got to meet him in person, and he's so fucking cool and nice and sweet and badass and amazing.
Okay, that's cool.
And clever.
I love him.
I love you. I love you, Chris Lemke.
they kind of allude to Sam being not like the coolest dude, but it's just from the what is her name? Trina
Trina, yeah,
kind of
the bully.
insinuates that, where like, yeah, when she goes to get her dog from Ginger, and she's like in the backyard and meets Bridget, and she's like, he's just a cherry chaser.
Mm-hmm.
He's only after you because you're a virgin. And she was like, don't give him the satisfaction. And like she starts losing it, and she was like, it finally, someone shouldn't give him the satisfaction or whatever. And you're like, oh, so it hit home a little bit more with the rewatch when Trina was like, someone should finally not give him the satisfaction. I was like, oh, so is he kind of
Shady.
a piece of shit?
Yeah.
Like, I guess.
Because we never got that angle from him, because he was just there to help Bridget.
Yeah.
And he was all into the science of the plants and
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out a serum to counteract the lycanthropy.
Yeah. And like he pushes Ginger off of him, but I mean, that's not like a huge, like,
He's
he
not like a
doesn't get
superhero.
Yeah. He doesn't get
He's
an
doing
award
God's
for that
work.
because she was already half werewolf. She had multiple nipples, like sets of nipples, so it's not like, you know.
Yeah, and so then we have Emily Perkins playing Bridget, the younger sister to Catherine Isabel, who is Ginger of the title.
Ding ding.
And also a goddess of a woman who just means the world to us.
What a beast.
What a beast.
Like, just that, yeah, everything about her.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I read apparently during like the casting, they had a really hard time casting the girls, but then they found both of them. They did, they auditioned together, I think.
Right.
They recorded something together. And Karen was like, they're perfect. But it's weird because they were born at the same hospital. They went to the same like elementary and like junior high or something. They were represented by the same agent and same ad like agency or whatever. And like their lives overlapped a lot, but I think there's like 5 years difference between them or something. But like the coincidences of that is like so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It is so weird. But they really are perfect for the roles. Perfect. One thing that I did read that I loved was from that article that I think I might have referenced already, depending on if it made it in the podcast or not. But, but it's on the website Little White Lies, and it's this is just a quote. Released 20 years ago, Ginger Snaps is a bloody love letter to teenage girls everywhere. Rooted in the riot girl culture, it falls into a long history of progressive and transgressive Canadian horror films. Black Christmas laid the blueprint for slasher films.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Cronenberg's early body horror, Rabid and Shivers, drew controversy for being publicly funded, as would Ginger Snaps, which I didn't know.
I know, I read that too, and I was they didn't say what it was about accurately, though.
How did they say it?
I think it was about, they were marketing it as a female teen slasher movie, and it was right around the same time that Columbine, and there was like a mass shooting in Alberta.
Right.
So everybody was like, what? Slasher movie and Canadian funding? Like, f*** you.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, it's not a slasher movie.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It's a very important coming-of-age tale that resonates with many women in our age range, and probably others.
Yeah.
So in the late this is still the quote. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, horror films, mostly from the U.S., re-energized by Wes Craven's Scream, another sacred text.
Thank you.
Was all about teenagers, but not the teenage experience. And I feel like that's kind of what we were touching on earlier, is this really hit the teenage experience, I think.
Yeah. I just have to say that it's like, it holds up for me anyway. I know it's like I said earlier, if like someone who's in grade 10 now watched it, they'd be like, oh, there's something really wrong with these girls, they need help. You know, but like me watching it, I'm like, this holds up, this is still, this is accurate to life.
Yeah.
And like from the very introduction of the girls, it's like they don't pull any punches. It's just like you meet Bridget holding a bunch of weapons and like flamethrowers and ropes and stuff, finding out some dog got brutally ripped apart, and she's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you meet Ginger in the basement putting a giant blade on her wrist, and she was like, oh no. their
Rista for
wrist is like,
girls.
yeah, wrist for girls. You know, so you're like, within the first 30 seconds, you're like, oh, I 100% know who these girls are.
Yes.
You know, like, I got it. Cool.
Yeah.
And, like, they don't throw any punches for the rest of the film. It's like, that's like, they don't back down or, like, kind of soften the edges of the girls. It's like, this is who they are and this is like, for real, you know? And
Yeah.
I really did appreciate that, because I know not all movies are created equal, but, like, I'm sure there are some movies that, like, have similar sort of setups and then fizzle away.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted by a very cute meow also.
Yes, of course.
Little meow meow. But yeah, I really appreciate that about this movie, is that they, like, don't shy away from, like, the characters that they built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or apologize for them, like you said. It's really, it's good. It's really good.
Like, and even, like, I really like even the little, like, kind of, like, darkness that they throw into the mom's character as well, because she's painted to be, like, the complete polar opposite to the girls.
Yeah.
But then when she realizes what the girls have done, she's like, well, just blow up the fucking house and leave your dad and we'll start fresh. Let's go. You know, like, that is almost more terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. Amazing, though. Amazing.
Yeah. That's mom goals right there.
Totally.
Like, with her tiny little jack-o'-lantern earrings on, too. Like,
and
so
her little
precious.
curly bangs.
I know.
So cute. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. The scene that always gets me, like, in power mode and stuff, is that one scene where they're playing, what is it, field hockey?
Yes.
And Trina pushes Bridget for a second time, and this is after Ginger got bit, and, like, that heavy music starts, and she just, like, goes after her.
Has, like, a little growl.
Yeah.
She just straight up punches her in the face so many times.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite scene, I think.
I don't know. I was trying to, like, keep in mind that what would be my favorite scene. And I don't know if I have one, to be honest. I have some lines that I really like.
Ooh, tell me your lines.
I did like the play at the beginning where when Ginger gets her period, when they're trying to... Okay, I'll set up the scene then, I guess, because in case people want that.
Yeah.
So they're going to get back at Trina because of the first time that she bullied Bridget while playing field hockey. They were like, let's pretend that this crazy creature that's out there killed her dog. And so they, for some reason, know where to find a mangled dog carcass that looks like her dog.
Randomly in a playground, yeah.
Randomly. So they're like, okay, sure. So they find it and they're going to take it and, like, just fuck with her. But the dog's legs fall off and they're like, ew, gross. No. And then Ginger finds that she gets her period at that moment.
Yeah.
And it's so good. She's just like, I got the curse. And B just goes, ew. She's like, it's not contagious. But then it's like, immediately she does get, like, the curse and it is contagious. Yeah. Like, that's really cute. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. I like that too, actually.
And it's just, like, a good little setup. I don't know. I really liked, I guess, this whole scene with after Ginger gets bit and she starts to just slightly change personality-wise, and Bridget's, like, noticing something's wrong, and more than just being female. Like, that's a really good line.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. You're doing drugs with guys. Something is definitely wrong with you. And then, like, drugs with guys. Bridget's so cute. But when Ginger accuses her of being jealous, and she's like, oh yeah, like, I really wish I was hemorrhaging Harry and sucking off Jason McCartney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great line.
Yes.
Great line from her.
Yeah.
Because, like, as much as she's painted to be, like, the quiet, sort of, like, reserved ones, like, she's got a really good tongue. Sharp tongue.
She does, yeah.
She yells, she's ovulating. I think that's my favorite. Yeah, where she's like, she's ovulating. Oh, so good.
I remember distinctly being in high school, watching this film for the first time, and you know how Trina, at one point, when Ginger is dating or making out with Jason, and Bridget walks by, basically the same scene, and Trina goes, somebody should get your slut bitch sister a leash, or something like that.
Yes.
It was like, it awoken something in my mind that's like, it's more powerful to put 2 or 3 swear words together. And I did that ever since.
Masterclass.
Yeah, masterclass.
I love it.
Yeah, it was good. It was something I literally took with me, and I still do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like, Trina is a character that isn't written anymore. There's no Trinas and stuff anymore.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like the world is gonna be, like, not ready to deal with Trinas. Because they exist.
I know. They're just not represented on screen.
Yeah. Just no kids are gonna know how to fucking deal with them.
No, I have to say this I don't mean to say for a Canadian movie. There's a lot of fantastic Canadian movies, but this is such a gem. Like in the horror world, I mean, like there's a lot of parallels here with the episode we did on Jennifer's Body and just Jennifer's Body. You know what I mean? Like I'll reference it here, but I'm not going to get into it just because if you are interested, you can definitely go back and listen to Jennifer's Body, which is one of my favorite episodes, actually. I think that but there's a paper from Google Scholar called Desiring Monsters, Femininity, Radical Incontinence, and the Monstrous Appetite in Ginger Snaps, Jennifer's Body, and Deadgirl by Deborah Willis and Toni Roberts. So I have linked that in the show notes for Jennifer's Body episode, and I'll link it here too, but it's definitely like, it just touches on all that academic stuff of like, the intrigue of like females turning into monsters and what that looks like and how it's so connected to like the lunar cycle and contagion, as you mentioned. Like there's like a fear of the contagiousness of femininity or something almost.
And that's like one thing, because I never knew like I always like, okay, I'm gonna back up and say when Ginger I forget what happens right before, but she's in the bathroom, and I think that's the line where there's something wrong with you, and it's not just female or something. Ginger's in the bathroom stall, and Bridget's like worried, and it's like there's something wrong.
When Ginger's puking up, you mean?
No, like at the very beginning, right when she just heals and she has like hair coming out of her.
Yes.
She's like, I can't have a hairy chest, B. That's f***ed up.
Yeah.
She's like, and they go to the nurse.
Yes.
And I love the setup of that because everything that they're saying, she's for sure heard girls say, because it's like, there's so much blood the first time, so much blood. And she's like, oh, that's normal. But like, there really was so much blood.
Yeah.
You know?
Because she was,
they're like hair in weird places. She's like, also normal, but like, they're not being like out of scars on my chest, you know? Like, so it's just like a really good play for all of involved to like, just like talk each other around in circles.
Absolutely.
But I have to say that what that woman said about, like, the menstrual cycle and, like, what to expect and, like, the bleeding and every whatever, way more than I ever got in any sex ed class.
That is a very good point. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. When she describes what the menstruation is like, yes.
Yeah, and the flows and every day and what to expect and everything, I was like, no, I didn't hear that from anyone in school.
No.
And, like, that was their job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, frankly, I think most of us were left to our own devices about that stuff. Yeah.
It was, like, more towards, like, what happened with the mom, where it was, like, you get a cake, yeah, you're a woman. And you're like,
the mom gave her a cake.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, that's a great point. I never even thought about that. Absolutely true.
Yeah, but I also like that scene a lot just because of, like... just because I can like see where both sides were coming from and how they were just like not speaking the same language. It was really good.
There's also an element, of course, that I don't think we touched on yet, which is the sexuality element, right? So like, talking about like you know, like the fears of becoming a sexual person. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I love about werewolves. Like, I know, like, when we're talking about werewolves and vampires, we're always like, vampires are the sexy ones. And I'm like, no, dude. No, my dude. Werewolves. They just have that id, that, like, in them, you know? Yeah. They just want to... It's very, I enjoy that element of werewolf stories and concept. And, it kind of, like, I would even equate it, like, maybe to the film, like, the sexuality portion of the story, to It Follows, if you watched It Follows. Yeah, where it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like a horror thing, where it's like in Ginger
Mm-hmm.
Snap. Well, in both, you're passing on sort of a sexually transmitted supernatural
Mm-hmm.
element.
I love that too. I think this is the first movie where they treat lycanthropy as like a virus.
That I've seen, yeah.
That I know of anyway.
Yeah, because even the serum counteracts the virus like a real virus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that she passed it to what's his face?
Jason, yeah.
Yeah, Jason by having unprotected sex.
Yeah.
That's funny to me.
Yeah. But here's an interesting thing too. Is Jason the werewolf, do you think, in number 2?
I was going to ask you because they insinuate in the second one that the monkshood doesn't work completely. It just it
It's a
just
temporary
stops
fix.
or stalls or goes back or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Jason because in Ginger Snaps, of course, they kind of inadvertently test out the serum on Jason once he's infected and turning. But then he runs off, and that's all we know.
That whole scene, maybe that's my favorite part. Wait, yeah. I have to go. I have a class. And he has a syringe sticking out of his mouth. And he was just trying to eat a little kid dressed as a dog or a cow or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, and
funny.
it hits him different. He's got pimples and weird cysts all over his face, and he's all turns into a sleazy sicko dude.
Yeah, he
just
looks
being
gross.
Oh, lady.
Yeah.
Where Ginger just turns into a sex goddess.
A beautiful flower, yeah.
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 Different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did find that empowering too, trying to channel that energy that she brought when she was just starting to transition into my daily high school experience. And honestly, still to this day, I try and channel it when I can.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm into that. Yes.
So if you see me slow motion walking to work,
I'll feel it somehow. It'll be radiating to me. I'll be
yeah.
Slow motion. Okay, so the budget was, I guess, $4.5 million, and I think it grossed maybe 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
bummer. But maybe that goes back to how it was marketed. Maybe it didn't do well because everyone was ready to hate it.
That's similar to Jennifer's Body too. They're definitely kind of a similar genre of teen girls turning into women and dealing with supernatural elements
and f***ing up dudes' lives.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Didn't go over well. Surprise. This was before I think women knew that they could go to the movies by themselves. They don't need to go on a date.
Yeah. There's nothing more powerful than going to a movie by yourself. I definitely have done that.
Oh my god, I love it. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I forget the movie because it probably wasn't that good. But I remember going, it was a matinee, and I got snacks from the dollar store, and I sat in the middle of the theater, and I was like, this is mine.
Yeah.
This is all for me.
Yeah.
And it ruled.
It definitely feels good. Yeah. My favorite go-to snack at the movie theater is hot dogs and nacho cheese.
Shit.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh my god. Oh shit. That's really good.
It is so good.
Oh, because I have to I always have to do the popcorn. I always the largest with and I don't get the butter. I get the butter topping.
Right.
So it's just oil.
Yeah.
Hot oil, salt oil.
Yeah.
And I just soak the shit out of the popcorn, and I eat it for days, and that's heaven to me.
Oh. Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can. Oh, I don't know. That sounds like a really tempting replacement. I might have to try it. Maybe.
It's so good. Just go to the theater. I don't even know if theaters are open, but you should just go order it for food and then leave.
Leave. Bye.
Just there for the snacks.
Yeah.
Get my $20 hot dog.
One thing that I also appreciated was after when Ginger. I think it's right before they do the piercing, the belly button piercing. It's
Great
when
scene.
she, it's after Ginger has sex, right, with that Jason guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and so she's like, he's probably telling everybody like what a freak lay I am and like how weird I am or whatever. And Bridget's like, well, just say the same. And she's like, that's not how it works. And she's like, he was laid, so that's awesome. And like, I'm the freak.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that is like, yeah, that's how it would have happened. And I was like, is it still like that now?
I don't think it's like that now. Like, I could be way off. I could be so out of touch. I have no idea. But it feels like people have had are more receptive to the fact that, like, sexuality is a part of, like, life.
Yeah.
And just, like, enjoying sex has become, like, more acceptable.
Just talking about everything. You know, like, we at the beginning when we were talking about, like, if you were depressed, like, I think the only thing that we knew to do was like to wear all black and like float around the halls and be like, ooh. Yeah. You know, we didn't talk about it. It was not a thing that was discussed or anything. And the same with like sex and sexuality. It was not a thing that was openly discussed. There was no safe space to do that.
You know, that's a great point. I distinctly remember. So I have had obsessive compulsive tendencies periodically through my life, especially as a youth, right? But I remember, like, getting tested, I think I was in high school, getting tested for OCD, like, to get diagnosed with it. And I remember the questions just were so messed up. Like, specifically, I remember this one where it says, do you compulsively wash your hands more than, like, X amount of times a day, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't. So I marked that I didn't. But, like, where was the question that's like, I spend an hour in the shower rearranging the bottles so that I don't have bad luck that day? Or where was, do you know what I mean? Like, there was, it just because it wasn't, like, I feel like they were just like, oh, well, OCD equals washing your hands a lot. And it's like, no, there's so many other things it could manifest as. And it just wasn't included, and you kind of get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? So, like, you're right. Yeah. There wasn't like it didn't feel like there was a smart outlet for mental wellness or sexuality.
Yeah, it just was not, because again, it was like the whole climate of just not caring was cool.
Yeah.
You know, so there was no empathy a lot of the time. There was no space for anyone. There was no healthy debate. There was no anything like that. It was, I'm surprised that we're not as messed up as, like, we're not more messed up, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, like, there wasn't as much support systems in the world, and there wasn't as much dialogue and understanding as there is now.
Yeah. Or openness about dealing with this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, like, just thinking of, like, how, like, it's a blessing and a curse, but, like, social media and the internet in general, like, how much that probably helps a lot of people because they have resources and they have outlets that they can go to in private if they're, like, in a space that isn't the healthiest and safest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas what did we have? Angel Fire? Websites? Like...
Yeah, neon green background. These fucking bugs, man.
Yeah. Sweet blood.
There was a show on Netflix. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Carolean Hour or something, and there was like an episode where this woman thought there was vampires in the town, and she went out to confront them, and they're like, vampires don't exist, and then they all turned into giant mosquitoes. It was so weird.
I kind of like that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Vampires don't exist. I never understood why they're supposed to be the sexy ones.
Me neither.
You know?
I would have always gone for the werewolf, man. Or if I had to choose to turn into one, again, I would have gone with the werewolf. So badass.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be a vampire. That just seems like a drag.
Yeah, I always wanted to write this short story, but I never got the logistics figured out of it. But I always remember thinking it was cool. Like, I thought I had this idea, like, back in high school where it was like, there was, like, werewolves. Obviously there's werewolves. But that the scope of their transition was based on how, like, mentally strong they were as a person. So like if you had a lot of mental strength, you wouldn't transition much, so you'd look like more screwed up and creepy and like this humanoid thing. But if you were kind of more like weak-minded, you would just transform entirely into a wolf. So there's like different.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I never figured out what to do with it, but I really loved the concept that like dependent on your mental strength or like your personality. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So
I always enjoy different takes and stuff on like the classics like this. And what was it? What is it, Sam? He was like, forget the Hollywood answers and shit.
Yeah.
Because I like it. I like the breakaway. I accept like sometimes, you know, it's like when in Twilight where it's like vampires can still go outside. They just sparkle like diamonds.
Yeah.
It's like,
no.
What the is that? Like,
that's a terrible addition to like our like I don't know, the canon of vampires.
Yeah, it's just, well, you remove one of the most important strict rules.
Yeah.
As to how to understand these creatures, and you replace it with shimmery diamond skin that adds no value to anything. Like,
yeah.
Like, anyway.
You're right. Like, I never wrote any best-selling books, so I shouldn't be commenting on this at all. But at the same time, it's like I feel like the value of the story, like when it comes to like unique vampires or unique werewolf stories, is like fitting in the basic paradigm that we already know, like the known building blocks, and then seeing how you can go outside of that to kind of tie back into it. Like Ginger Snaps does perfectly. It's like, let's take the building blocks. Yeah, I really appreciate that in this movie, that they have like a really like fun and different approach to the the anamorph. The anamorph.
But like the transitioning, it is more of a transition than like like the traditional like changing once a month sort of thing. Like she straight up just turns.
Yeah.
And I think that's really rad. I like the stages of how they do it and everything. Like, I think it's really, it just like works. I think it's pretty rad.
Oh, it's so rad. And I did love the concept. It's like the person transforms into a werewolf after they are bit. That's a basic concept that we've accepted as werewolf mythology. Yes. But I loved it because it's the first time in a movie that I saw, well, maybe American Werewolf in London did it, but it's the first time I saw something that I remembered where it was permanent. Like once you're a wolf, you're just a wolf now. There's no like full moon. Like there is some full moon stuff in Ginger Snaps, but I feel like it's more based on like having your period as opposed to being a time frame.
Yeah, because she gets her period at the beginning of October, and it's like Halloween is when the full moon and everything happens. So I think it's just like them further cementing those two things together. Yeah. And but also I always enjoy how people actually make the creatures, like make werewolves happen. Yeah. So weird, sorry, but like the final transition for her was really cool.
Oh, it was so like, well done.
She's gone. She's done. Yeah. And like it was all practical, which I love. Give me practical effects all day, every day.
Give me practical effects or give me death.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a show that I watched that had a really cool angle on it. I watched the first season and I don't think I liked it. Hemlock Grove. Yes, Hemlock Grove. Yeah. So I started watching it because I was like, ooh, spooky, weird. Yeah. But it never really amounted to anything. And I was just kind of like, okay, anyway. Yeah. Shrug. But how they did the transformations for the werewolf was super rad. I appreciate it. It was like the human skin part of you basically just peeled off like a banana peel and the wolf was on the inside, and vice versa. Like your eyeballs popped out and shit and your teeth. I was like, this is so gruesome and gory, but like it's so rad. That's awesome. So basically like the beast comes from within you and like pushes and pulls you apart.
Yes. The beast comes from within you, and that's like mwah, that is exactly it.
Yeah, it is so, I was like, I've never seen this before, and it is so awesome. And it happened again transitioning into a human, like it just like like it was just a pile of weird gooey flesh shit. You know, I was just like, that's so rad.
Yeah.
I appreciate stuff like that. Like you
Oh,
said,
for
like
sure.
taking the structure and the skeletons of it, but like kind of just massaging it and being like, yeah, but technically we're still doing it, but we're
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, doing something really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
like the only thing from that show that, like, what is it? It came out like forever ago and I watched it once, but that's the only, I was like, that was dope. That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Like, that's amazing because that's exactly the epitome of what's happening. Yeah, it's coming from within. Oh, can I just say Josh Rubin's coming out with a movie that he directed called Werewolf Within?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am very ready to watch that movie.
That's so cool.
I know, I love him. But yeah, no, that scene in Ginger Snaps, I'm so stoked that you brought that up where she does her transition because it is, it's probably the saddest scene. No, that's the second saddest scene in the movie. The end scene, of course, is the saddest, I think, that last shot there.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like bubbly and like just her face is going and she's in the back of the van. They're trying to get her home, I guess, to get the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a little
Like,
too late.
A little too late.
Yeah.
And then, but again, like their take on the look of the werewolf was beautiful too. Like I found like she was like, it was a stunning creature.
Yes, they did a great job.
Yeah, not super like typical, like was down on all fours, which I thought is cool.
Yeah.
Not the typical super furry, weird wolfy look.
Yeah.
You know, like very supernatural. And I don't know. It just looks really cool.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I just want to bring up another scene that I just thought of that I loved and I think spoke a lot to the relationship dynamic with Bridget and Ginger was that scene where, spoilers, please tell me you've seen the movie at this point if you're still listening to the podcast.
Yeah, if you f*** off, if not, like, come on, sorry.
Yeah. No, I hear here. But that scene where Ginger, as a werewolf, has mortally wounded Sam and he's bleeding out and just sitting there kind of breathing.
Yes.
And she starts licking the blood and then Bridget crawls over and starts licking the blood to try and like connect with her wolf, her now wolf sister. That shot, incredible.
And it's also because Bridget infected herself too, right? So like she's also like, we are now one and the same like we were before, like we are in it together. I really appreciated actually in that scene, like I really appreciated how Sam was breathing. So I feel like that was pretty accurate, you know? Like,
yes, that was solid acting. Yeah, he did a great job on that scene. And it's just so off-putting but so beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. And then she just can't do it.
Yeah, she pukes back up the blood. Yeah. But it's a really incredible scene for sure.
Oh, what a good little movie.
That concludes our birthday festivities for our 11th episode of the Coven Slumber Party. Thank you so much for coming to our party. We wanted to let you know, as a party favor of sorts, we've made a CSP podcast candle, which smells like popcorn and
Dr. Pepper.
yeah. And they will be available soon. If you are interested in getting one, you can email us at thecovenslumberparty@gmail.com. Ray lent her talents in alchemy to creating not only our logo for the candle and podcast, but the delicious scents that are in it as well. So she is a queen, obviously.
You're so nice.
As for us, you can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Podcasts. We'll be here next month with more witchy slumber party goodness, and hopefully you will be there too. No initiation required, but we might ask you to scry in the swamp soda. Is Justin smashing stuff?
What are you doing? All right. What you doing though?
Trying to make a sandwich.